Hello, Guildlings, and welcome back to the internet's hottest new geek podcast, Cole's Corner. My name happens to be Cole Spire, and I welcome you to my little corner of the internet. So, I can't really use the term new anymore for much longer because of the fact that this has been around for a while. So, I'll think of a different interesting intro for it. But let's jump into what I wanted to talk about today. Now, I promised you when I started this that I would try and keep as much social justice commentary and stuff like that out of it as I possibly could. And I have to break a little bit of that promise now because there's something that needs to be defended. And I'm not talking about defended like White Knight defending. I'm talking about actually defending it. About something that happened. This is actually not the podcast I wanted to do, but since this happened a couple days ago and I haven't been able to do the recording that I needed to do for the podcast that I wanted to do, this seems like a really interesting thing to talk about. A few days ago, there was a picture floating around that Jeff Kaplan came out and basically confirmed that Symmetra was autistic. Now, the letter was basically saying that the letter he got was basically saying it was a way for two brothers to bond because one of them was autistic. And that he's happy that Overwatch is a way for them to bond and that nothing warms their hearts more than hearing stories like that. So, why is this an issue? Why? I'm not going to be complaining about Symmetra being autistic because people who play the game and people who have been reading the comics that Blizzard has put out already knew this. This was just kind of Kaplan coming out and saying, my stamp of approval, yes, Symmetra is autistic, we created her this way, and there, now you have it. In Symmetra's comic, she comes out and says that she's surprised she has gotten as far as she has in the Vishkar Corporation because of the fact that she's on the spectrum. I'm paraphrasing. It's not exactly what she says, but I'll leave a link to the comic down below. You guys can read them. Read them all. They're really great and does give you an in-depth look into some of the characters of Overwatch. So, this is a heartwarming story. And on top of that, the autistic community, the people that are having trouble connecting with a character, now have someone that they can say, look, she's autistic just like us, and she's pretty badass. Because let's face it, Symmetra is badass, okay? One of the most overpowered characters in the game. Well, come to find out that with this confirmation that she's autistic, there's a little bit of backlash. And it's not coming from those who you think. It's not the gaming community of the Overwatch fans. It's not the gamers who play the game. And it's not the people who read the lore. It's coming from Tumblr SJWs who don't give a shit. And their response was basically, well, Symmetra's not autistic enough. Not autistic enough? What the fuck does that mean? What, do you want her to stop every single time she passes by a window and licks it clean? Or, how about this? Anytime one of her own teammates accidentally bumps into her, her character model stops and has to punch herself in the face a couple times because she's uncomfortable. Those a little too derogatory for you? Well, listen, those are things that possibly can happen on the autism spectrum. They're extremes, but they're there. There is no generalization of being autistic. It's a sliding grayscale, okay? When they use the term gender spectrum, that's not a spectrum. Autism has many, 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 many different levels. It is a sliding scale spectrum. You can be a high functioning autist, and people won't even know you have it. Or you're someone who requires 24/7 care. None of that has a generalization of where you can put someone. So I'm not gonna get really in depth with this, but I'm gonna give a few examples, and I'm gonna give my thoughts on this like I should, how anyone should. Now, Symmetra, of course, is not the character's real name. Her name is Satya Vaswani. Symmetra is just her call sign. her being autistic is not a big deal. And it's not a big deal for the players, like I've said before. So I want to give a couple examples of how shit like this irks me, and why it should irk everybody else, that they call for this stuff, that they say things like, she's not autistic enough. So the first example does have something to do with autism, and we're going to talk about a character that was just recently, by a few years, introduced to the public as a whole. His name is Drax. Drax the Destroyer, actually. And he's part of Guardians of the Galaxy. He's a well-known name now, but before, you could say Drax, you could say Rocket, you could say Groot, you could even say Star-Lord and Gamora, and no one would know who you were talking about. Well, what we saw in Drax was a type of autism. Now, the difference being is that's Drax's alien race. That's part of what his alien race does. They don't get metaphor, and they don't understand sarcasm. That is part of the autism spectrum. And you had stories about people, a heartwarming story about a younger brother who was ecstatic that Drax was on the screen because he suffered from the same type of autism that the brother did. And he could relate to that character. And Drax does not identify as autistic. Drax is not hindered by being autistic. And his friends accept him for who he is. And on top of that, he's highly athletic. He's a hero. He's a mourning husband. He also has he's one of the best characters in that particular story arc. And what's great is it's a forethought. It's not a forethought, it's an afterthought. Him not being able to understand this stuff, especially for his friends like Star-Lord and Gamora. They understand, but they don't let that hinder their relationship with him. Him being autistic has nothing to do with who he is. It's not part of his identity, and he doesn't let it identify him. Now, my second example does have something to do with the Overwatch universe, and it's kind of the same thing that happened. A little while ago, we had Tracer come out as gay. The fan base and the gamers and everything else kind of went, okay, we're going to keep going back to playing. It was everyone else that was like, haha, there's a gay character in a game, and she's one of the main characters. How do gamers feel about this? Gamers were like, and? So, since we're talking about this as if these people are real, as if these characters are real, let's take this a step further. Because when Tracer came out as gay, there were people saying she was not gay enough. And again, there's no such thing as not gay enough. What do you want her to do? Do you want a legendary skin where she's wearing all the colors of the rainbow? Maybe some of her voice lines changed. Well, instead of, the cavalry's here, it says, I'll be there lickety-split, and have all of them filled with double entendre about whatever. No. And here's the reason why. Tracer being gay does not identify her. I said this before when it came out, and I did my first podcast for this about it, and I'm going to state it again. Tracer being gay does not identify as her being that. It's not her identity. She's a part of Overwatch. She's a hero. She's a badass pilot. She's a friend, and then, way down the line, she's a lesbian. And in her life, since we're talking about these characters like they're real people, the day that we all found out she was gay was a huge revelation for us. But for Tracer, it was a Tuesday. All of her friends and all of the people in Overwatch have already accepted she is who she is. They accept her for being gay, they accept her for being a pilot, they accept her for her quirkiness, they accept everything about her, and they moved on. Only for us was it a revelation. And it's the same thing for Symmetra. Satya does not define herself by her autism. And what I mean by that is she doesn't let it ruin her life. And she doesn't let it run her life. Now, she did pick the name Symmetra because of the type of autism she has. She has to have symmetry, which they even maneuvered into her kit a little bit. She uses 6 turrets instead of 1 like Torbjorn. And the reason why is because you can have symmetry with 6. You can have 2 teams of 3. 3 teams of 2, a team of 4, and a team of 2. But all 6 work best when being used symmetrical altogether. She does not let it define her. She has worked her way up into the Vishkar Corporation to where she is someone who answers to the CEO only. So, she's an important businesswoman. She's a spy. She's a light crafter, she's an architect, and she's a hero. And then, way, way, way down the line, she's autistic. And you're gonna take all that crap away from her because she's not autistic enough? Are you fucking kidding me? Symmetra happens to be one of the most versatile characters there is. She's a defender, she's a builder, she's a DPS, and depending on how many Symmetras you have out there, she has the possibility of being a tank. And on top of that, she is part of a game that has the most inclusive and diverse cast of heroes that is out there. But she's not autistic enough. This is coming from people who don't play the game, who don't give a shit, and all they do is they look at Symmetra and check off boxes. Alright, we have a new character here. Alright, first question, is she male or female? Female, check. Is she a female woman of color? Yes, check. Does she have a disability? Well, she is missing an arm. What do you mean she's missing an arm? Well, she's got a robotic arm because she lost her arm, and they gave her a cybernetic one that allows her to work normally. She can still take it off. We'll check that off as disability. Does she have a mental disorder? She's autistic. Well, how autistic? It doesn't matter. She's autistic. No. I mean, is she, like, severely autistic? Like, does she scream when she doesn't understand? No, she's autistic. Check the fucking box. You check the other ones. Check the fucking box. Yeah, but we have to determine if she is really autistic or as if she's just kind of autistic, she can work around. Check the fucking box. There's no excuse for asking for more. You're asking for something that you don't even know what you want. The only thing that would give her more points in the Oppression Olympics is if she identified as a male and she also was an otherkin. And then she would be the platinum of the Oppression Olympics instead of being the gold. The day that it was confirmed that Symmetra was autistic was a revelation to people who didn't already know. To Symmetra herself, it was a Tuesday. And for these people who just want more and more and more, they don't understand that they're doing nothing but hurting the game. And hurting the people who are fans. And, on top of all else, hurting the people who actually have autism. Because you're trying to take something away from them. Because it doesn't fit your standards of what autism is. And believe it or not, that's pretty fucked up. And that's all I really have to say about this. I can't believe I have to defend something like this. I take that back. I actually do believe I have to defend something like this, because I've traversed Tumblr, and if you give them an inch, some of these people will try and take miles. So for those of you who are fans of the game, this is no big deal for you. For those of you who are fans of the lore, this is no big deal for you, because you already knew. But we don't need people who are complaining about this to be the voice who are speaking out. We need more people defending this type of stuff. Defending the fact that Symmetra worked her way up, worked through her disabilities, and became something that she is. But I'd like to know your guys' thoughts. Honestly. I mean, am I wrong? Am I talking out my ass? If you think so, let me know. You can follow me on Facebook, at the Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and Tumblr. I'm going to have some links for you guys down below. And please hit like, share, and subscribe. This is important stuff here, guys. This really is. We can't let people like that, people who are saying someone's not something enough, ruin our hobbies, ruin our games. It's imperative. So, thank you for listening. I promise next time I have something better planned. I may be able to do another one, another podcast Friday night and have it up on Saturday because I actually have to work, so I can't do the stream. But other than that, guys, I will see you next time. I'm going to attempt to keep trying to have these at a regular basis. I know I've missed the last couple weeks, but que sera. Thanks again. My name's Cole Spire. This has been Cole's Corner, and I will see you guys next time.